It's sponsored by Pick and Ink. I want to welcome you all. And I want to thank Pick and Ink for sponsoring the event this afternoon. I've just got a few key points or messages that I want to get across to you that I hope will inspire you and give you food for thought. If you can just look at the slide growth. Are you growing your skills and values? Now what I mean by that is every day, if your focus should be on growing your skills. Now what I mean by growing your skills is every one of us have discovered a passion when they were in their 20s, what they want to do for the rest of their lives. So whatever the business industry you are at, some people it could be cutting hair, some people it could be for myself it's in graphic design, but whatever industry that you are in or that you are interested in, you've got to make sure that you grow your skills so that you become the best at what you do. And the only way you can become an expert or the best at what you do is that once you grow to a level of your skills that the company is satisfied that they'll pay you for it, that's when most of the people, they stop growing. Because I'm getting paid for doing what I'm doing and I'm good at repeating what I'm doing, so there's not really a need to be the best in my industry. Whatever you're doing, and in my case it's now teaching, is to be the best in your industry. So my skills being Corel Draw, Adobe products, all the graphic design products, I want to be the person that knows the most about Adobe Photoshop, the person that knows the most about Corel Draw. I'm going through the tutorials, I go onto the internet, I learn. When it comes to business talks and values, you want to study the people and the books and the ideas, so that as the time goes on, your skill level actually grows. Whether your income grows is irrelevant, because it's the skill that grows. Because at some point, if you become an expert at what you do, the money will just suddenly catch up. There will become a point to it. And just on that note, I want you to also remember, a person gets paid in terms of the value, on terms of the value you put on yourself. If you don't think you and your skills are of a great value, people aren't going to believe it either, and they're not going to compensate you for it. Okay? Now remember, in the beginning, you're going to be paid what the market dictates to you. But at some point, by constantly improving your skills and constantly improving your skill levels, like for myself, constantly being the best at graphics and the best at designs and knowing the products and learning about teaching the products, I've come to realize, and with the training videos I've given, as I'm adding value to my service and to my product, as I'm adding value and growing, as I'm growing and adding value to it, at some point the people will realize, hey, this is great, you're better than that person, you're better than that person, you're better than the competition. So they'll start coming to you. And that is your signal, if people start coming to you, that you are good and you're an expert, because they're asking your advice, they're asking your designs, so now you know. Now at some point, you've got to now match the income to your level that you believe in, that you offer. So that's when you put the offer and say, for this product, I'm going to ask X amount and not less. And some people will dissipate, but some people will say, yes, it's worth it. Yes, the value that you added is worth it. And that could take time. But if the focus is on growing your skill and not just trying to find a job that's paid the highest and there's not really any resonating with that position or that skill, then it's not going to be, it's going to be very short-lived. So in terms of the value or that you put to it, there comes a point where you've got to say to yourself that I am worth X amount, and you will only be paid X amount, otherwise you won't take the job. Otherwise, you'll give it away for free. So if I'm going to teach for X amount of money. Otherwise, if I'm going to teach and nobody wants to come for that X amount of money, and that's what I believe I'm worth, then I'll give it away to free to charity or to some people that can't afford it. But the people that can afford it should pay the price. Let me just quickly give you an example. That you know what your self-worth is. You must know what your self-worth is. So if I can just give you a quick example. A guy does computer training with me, right? So now he's done the computer training with me, so he phones me a week later and says, oh, what is that command that I must click just to enable this to happen? And then what do? I say, it's great, I'm going to give you the command. You go to File, click here and click there, and then it'll happen. 2 seconds, because he's done the course. But then another guy, knowing that I'm an expert, wants to know how, so he phones me up. He's never done a course with me. All my skills and knowledge and learning and training how I should do it, he just wants me to answer it in 1 second. And he's got all the money, he's a business person. Why should I tell him? He must go and find it out for himself, because my skill is worth something. If I was not a graphic designer and I knew it, I would give him the answer. But because my income is linked to my skill, there's a worth that you put onto it. Can you see the difference? Okay, so in other words, if giving a presentation like this is not my core income, I'll do it for free. But if it was my core income, then there would be a price that I put to it and won't accept anything less, unless I then give it away as charity to people that can't afford to be at the talk. Okay, so what you're growing is not saying, oh, another year has passed and I'm getting no bonus and I'm getting no income and I'm not growing. Oh my goodness, what's happening? I'm not growing. Yes, you are growing because you are growing your skill levels and you are growing the value that you are adding to the product or service that you're doing. So if you're working in a company, you can't just do the same thing every day. Try and say, but why must I do more? People say, because I don't get paid more. No, you're not doing it for the company. You're doing more because you're doing it for yourself. You're adding more value to the company because you're doing it for yourself. Then sure, the company shouldn't be surprised that at some point you leave to go to another company that actually sees the value. Because there's going to come a point where you know your value and you're going to be seen for that value. So I'm going to give you another example. Because this is so important that you just get this message. When I started off in small business in 1994, that's about 20 years ago, okay? 1994, I just took the leap of faith and I said, I want to start my own business. This is what I'm passionate about. I'm starting my own business. So what I had one client that realized my ability. One client, his name, the company was called Pelucci Leather, right? And this guy, he had a big leather shop in Woodstock, Salt River, and he would do leather jackets and he would do leather upholstering of furniture. Now, I would come and I would design his adverts that would go into the newspaper over the weekend. I would design the adverts. Now, every Thursday, I would go to him and present him my design. And let's say, for example, because that was 20 years ago, he paid me at the end of the month 800 Rand. But I had to visit every week, go and see him for 4 weeks, and then he paid me 800 Rand. But every time I went to go and see him, there was a mistake or criticism on my things, or change this, because in a way I was young. He was trying to put across to me that if he can manipulate me, I'll bring down my price. So in other words, I constantly felt after a while he just wants to get it for even cheaper, and I tried my very best, and it was fantastic, and my design was good. Then what happened was, somebody asked me to show them how to do the program, because in 1994 computers started coming up, and I happened to switch over onto Corel Draw, and I started learning the Corel Draw product. So people started coming to me and saying, hey, show me how. And I said, sure, okay, I'll show you how. And I was training then Corel Draw For a whole full week, I would train a person every single day. He would come in at 4 o'clock and I'd show him how to do it. And they were willing to pay me 250 Rand. And I thought, great, 250 Rand, and I'm teaching you a bit of control. And then at some point, I enjoyed it because as I'm teaching it, the person is walking with skill and he's very happy with what I'm doing and he's appreciating it. 3 months later, the couple of people I started getting was adding up to a month, let's say, I'm comparing to that client, plus minus 600 Rand. And this guy was paying me 800 Rand. So I thought to myself, this guy's paying me 800 Rand, they're paying me 600 Rand, and it's a pleasure teaching them, and he's not appreciating it. And when it came to that point, where it was more or less the same, I decided to let go of him and continue the teaching. So what I'm saying is, as you grow in your skill levels and the value that you're putting on or giving, there must be an appreciation for it. Do you feel that people appreciate the product you are bringing to the market? Because you are putting your best in there. You are growing your skills. You're becoming good. Now, are they realizing it and not mentioning it and not compensating to you in terms of monetary value or compliments or whatever? Then it's time to realize that you have to say to yourself, the reason why I'm doing it is to help another person, the company, the values, another person, to help that person grow. So when I'm giving a talk, there's somebody I can help grow. When I'm teaching somebody the product, there's something that he's going to use or learn so that his life becomes better as a graphic designer. So there is some meaning or helping I'm doing when I'm actually presenting it. But if you feel that that person doesn't appreciate it, it's almost like he's saying, you know what, Calvin, I don't want your help. Do you think you're gonna do designs for him? No, he doesn't want my help. I'd rather go give my help where help is wanted and appreciated. Right. So that's very important. So while you're growing your skills and your value and not thinking too much about the money, you also know at some point life must give you the value that you're worth. And you are giving it with the intention to help, not focusing on the money that you're going to get in. So it's also the intention or the motivation why you're doing it. You're doing it because it's natural, you enjoy doing it, you're not just doing it for the money, you enjoy doing it and you're giving it to the right people. Okay, so now I want to talk about this thing about connecting. Are you engaging with positive people of influence? Now, no matter what your career is, or no matter what your business is, right? No matter what career or what business, you are not in an island. You're not living on an island. If you think you're designing there or teaching there to this one person or just for this one company, you are not doing it just for the person. You need to connect with people. You need to let people know about your skills. If you've got a certain skill level and you are growing your skills and you are growing your abilities, you've got, and you're growing, you know what you're passionate about, whether it's graphic design, teaching, learning, or whatever your skill level is, or whatever your profession is, or whatever your industry is, people's got to know about it. You've got to put it out there. They're not going to know unless you put it out there and engage with people. Now, the good thing about social media and Facebook and all of this thing is it's an opportunity to connect with people of similar interests as you and then to put it out there. But it's also the problem, there's also the negative part, is where there's not really any one-to-one physical interaction. Because when there's one-to-one physical interaction, then you can build up trust. And trust is so important in business, because remember, in business and in career, you are always selling. Whether you're selling to your boss or you're selling to whoever you're connecting with, you are selling in terms of you are always telling people about your abilities, about your product, about what you do. And you are going to find that some people have got different perceptions. Some people might think you're good, some people might not think you're good. You're not so good. But as long as you know how good you are and putting it out there, that's when you can start attracting more people. And remember, the types of people that you connect with is also very important. And I'll put it here on the slide. I said, you've got to engage with positive people of influence. Now, it's no good, you can, but if you just put out there to negative people, people that are very negative, that criticizes you all the time, that criticize your designs all the time, if you are a designer like I am or teaching as I am, and constantly find fault, then you're connecting with the wrong people. You've got to connect with people that will be positive in terms of what you're doing, that will encourage you in terms of what you're doing. Whatever career path you're doing and however good they might perceive it, rather go to people that are part of your fan club, that can say, well done, well done, well done, even though you're not as good yet as the next person, but you are on your road to getting to the best. But while you're on the road, don't say, oh, not so good, not so good. You've got to get to people that are positive and yes, you can make it, yes, you can do it. And then also of people of influence, because if whatever product you're putting out there or whatever career you connect with, who's got the most influence, do you think? The boss, the manager, if you're in a small business, the customer? The customer that's going to buy, who's got the most influence? That's where you've got to put yourself out, because they've got influence. They can make the decisions happen. So why I'm just giving you saying that, let me put it back now as an example to my own life. You know, that I've constantly pushed out that I do one-to-one training. Okay, one-to-one computer training, graphics training. And I'm constantly pushing it out on social media. I used to pay a lot of money on adverts to put it out, little adverts in the newspaper, constantly pushing it year after year after year. And I've constantly improved my product, constantly grew, and constantly upped my price to a certain level. And then one day, life works like that. I never made such good sales because of the market or whatever you want to call it, but I just kept going and kept believing. I kept saying this one thing to me, that as long as I'm engaging with people and as long as I'm believing what I'm believing in and getting the support that I'm supporting, at some point, somebody of influence will recognize it. So just to put a long story short, today I can see I'm starting to benefit or to reap the fruits of that reward. To give you an example, who today can train a person in graphics, Corel Draw or whatever graphics, and the person will be willing to pay you 2,500 rand. And that is for 2 days. Right, so a guy comes up to me and says, okay, I'm going to pay you 2,500 rand for 2 days training. Wow! Wow! Right? But this had to happen, it didn't just fall from the sky. I had to constantly engage on Facebook and in social media and newsletters and graphic mail and with my experience and my skill level and push it out there, talk and all of that for somebody realize, hey, this guy is an expert. This guy knows what he's talking about. If I go to him for training, I'm going to get results. I'm going to know how to work the program. Because in my past, I've sent to people for so much training and they never get any results. What's wrong? But I believe this guy. So you see how it all like a puzzle comes together. Now just this one little incident that I mentioned to you. They're going to put me on a bus all the way to Springbok because it's a big mining company, and I'm going to go there for 4 days, 2 days traveling in a bus, because it's a Greyhound Intercape bus, and then I'm going to live on the mine, and then I'm going to teach for the 2 days, and then I'm going to come on the bus back. And how did they discover me? Obviously through Googling it. So I've got to be on Google, I've got to do my stuff. So what I'm saying to you If you believe in yourself and you go to like-minded people that can support you and you are pushing yourself out there, somebody of influence is going to notice you. And they're going to notice you and they're going to give you a chance. But if you are not connecting and engaging, now there's a difference between connecting and engaging. Connecting, I like to say, send an email, send a Facebook thing, connect, pick up the phone. But engaging is when you see a person one-to-one, where you can start feeling a bit of trust. You know what? When you shake a person's hand and say, I'll do this for you, it's got much more influence saying, I will do this for you, than when you send him an email and say, I will do it for you. So many people say, I'll do this for you, I'll do this for you. But it's on an email, so it seems so distant that you don't know if they will deliver on their promise. But if you look a person in the eye and you shake his hand and say, I'll do it for you, you know, you get that feeling, this guy, and then obviously you get his track record. So, just the engagement is so important because people do business with people, and that is where the whole bigger companies are now. If you look at big companies, they gobble up even bigger companies so that you don't have a small company anymore. And when you're walking into a franchise or to a system, and it's almost like there's a disengagement between people. Right? I can give many examples. I don't want to give a silly example, but even these franchises. I mean, if you go to KFC, you go ride around the thing, you get your KFC thing and off you go. There's no engagement. There's no really selling. You know what you're going to get and off you go. But I'm sure there's people that can cook better chickens and can cook better burgers and whatever. But you've got to be that person because more and more people will find they will specialize and they'll put the price up. The reason why the bigger companies will always make money is because in business, there's a race to the bottom. Meaning, race to the bottom meaning you buy all the companies so that you buy out the competition, you mass produce it, and you lower the price so that nobody can compete with you, and you're the cheapest. And then people will come to you. And then you can give bad service because it's the cheapest. So you will go. I mean, if you pay a meal for 3 people and you pay 150 and you get it immediately, okay, so you do it. But there's also going to be a race to the top where people will want the best value. But when they want the best value, they're going to go to the people that are the best. And if you want to be the best, you have to constantly work on your skills. Okay. Making the right choice. You know, it's not just enough to make choices in life. You have to make the right choices. And here's the thing. People are not learning from their mistakes. They are stuck in a pattern and a rut, and then they don't get such good results, and then what happens is they become negative and they become blaming and they get very complaining. You've met people like that. They're always complaining, always negative, because the choices they've made in their life is only giving them X amount of results. So they've never learned from it or to grow, decided to grow or to make the right choices. So anything negative happens to you is a learning curve what not to do. And anything positive to you is a learning curve to you what you should be doing. So that whatever choice you make tomorrow or the next day would be the right choice. Let's just quickly do it in relationships. If you've married the wrong or you've been in a relationship with the wrong guy or girl, why is it that the next guy and girl you get is also the wrong person? Why? Because you haven't learned from your own self. You're attracting the wrong people because you haven't learned from your own self. If you will be a better person, you will get a better relationship. You see what I'm saying? So it's always because whatever happens to us, whether it's positive or negative, if the negative happens, you must stop and ask yourself, it's because I'm doing something wrong. I'm doing the wrong choices. And it's exactly the same in business. If your business isn't growing, or you've got to ask yourself, what am I doing wrong that it's not growing? Because if you are doing the right stuff, growing the skills and doing it, then the results should come in. Okay, so there's always the thing, the thing is that it's not that the people aren't making any choices, but they are making the wrong choices, and they're not learning from their mistakes. Right, now here is the other thing I'm just going to mention to you on that, is that there's a difference in reaping the results of a wrong choice, right? You make the wrong choice, so you're reaping the wrong results, as opposed, and I'll give you an example, as opposed to, it's just, you made all the right choices and something wrong happens to you. That also happens. So in other words, I want to say to you that circumstances around you is unpredictable. You can't predict the market. I can't predict who's going to come for classes with me. You can't predict the market. But you must know that life, and this is now my saying, you've probably never heard it anywhere. You've heard the saying that life is a box of chocolates, you never know what you're going to get. You've heard that saying, Forrest Gump? Okay? Life is a box of chocolates, you never know, you pick one, you never know what you're going to get. And that's true in a sense, because you never quite know what's going to happen, right? The future is almost like a little bit of an unknown. So, but what I want to say is, I want to say again, life is like snakes and ladders. If you've ever played snakes and ladders, I want to say life is like snakes and ladders. Because what happens is, at the one moment you're climbing the ladder, and then the next moment you think you're doing great, and you're just slipping down, and you're back even further than where you started. And you think, how's this possible? I'm doing everything right, I'm believe the right stuff, I haven't done anything wrong, I'm mixing with the right people, I'm growing my skill levels, I'm making the wrong choices, and then I've just slid right back again. And it could be the market. And typically the thing that happened to me was in 2008. You know, in 2008, we almost had a recession worldwide when in America that bank collapsed. And a lot of people lost their money, and it snowballed into South Africa. It's a fact. I was giving classes, and I had grown to such a stage where I could full-time have my own business full-time and not just rely on contracts. I could rely on the market. I could advertise, and I would always have enough students for the month. I never needed a contract. But for that particular year, it just dried up. People and companies weren't spending on training their staff. They weren't. Because there was a bit of a tightening. And nothing I had done, I had grown my skills, my courses and everything, and suddenly the people aren't coming. Was it my fault? No, but sure, you can even learn from the downside. So when it's snakes and ladders, when you slide down the snake and you hit a thing, it's nothing to do, you just got to know that there will be another ladder to climb. But when that opportunity comes and you see that ladder, you must climb it. Okay, you can't let that opportunity slip you by. So you are growing and growing, but when the opportunity knocks, or that person comes and makes you that offer, you've got to jump for it. Because a lot of people say, no, I don't want to go for the opportunity because I want my security. I want my comfort zone. I don't want things to happen worse to me. So they get trapped into what I call the comfort zone. Okay, and that is sticking to old habits, fearing change and the unknown. Some people then are so scared of the future or to change because they rather stick to what they know. So the little bit that has worked, they'll stick to the little bit that has worked because now they're too afraid to take another step again in case the last time that didn't work out, it's going to happen again. You've just got to know from the last time it didn't work out, what do you need to learn to make it a little bit different so that it doesn't happen again. Because you see, everything is what you are taking or you're learning from it. It doesn't mean you don't stop having a business, or you don't stop growing in your career, or you don't stop believing you can be the best or attain the best. It doesn't mean you stop there and then park and get into a comfort zone. And that's what a lot of people do. At some point I see it. And I'm not even going to relate to students, but you get people that say, I've tried, and nothing's happened, so I'm going to stick just to what I know, and I'm going to live in that comfort zone. I'm not even going to try to go further. And that's a very dangerous place to be, because a comfort zone means it's neither a failure and nor is it a success. It's just a happy medium, and that's where all the negative people park, and that's where all the complainers park. And that's where the people park with a little bit of what they've achieved, and they want everybody to be where they are. So they don't want to encourage the people that wants to attain and reach success and reach their goals. So it's very important to not stick to your old habits, but to say, whatever I'm doing, I'm on a path of growth and improving my skill, and I'm going to try new things all the time. Okay, now I'm going to come to an end of my talk. And at the end of the day, it all comes to the actions you take. So are you taking the right action on bigger goals? That's the question. Are you taking the right actions on bigger goals? Because remember I said, choices are, you've got to take the right choices, not the wrong choices. And it's the same thing as